Hey everyone, Joe Waxman here, the mediocre astrologer. Man, he's okay. What's up, everyone? I hope you're doing mediocre. Just kidding. I hope you're doing great. Today, I want to look at Neptune through the houses. So, continuing on the series, like I did Pluto through the houses, now we're doing Neptune. And I'm doing 4 for each house, all 12 houses. So, that's 48 charts we'll look at. I'm going to go house by house, not alphabetical order, so you can follow along easily. And let's see, what else? Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button. Do me a favor and leave a comment down below. Also, book a reading if you haven't done that yet, or if you have and you want another one, because they're good, and they're good for you, and they're good for me. So what is Neptune? Neptune is not the outermost planet that we use. That would be Pluto, even though Pluto is a dwarf planet. Neptune's huge. Neptune is not a dwarf planet. It is outside the bounds of Uranus, which is outside the bounds of Saturn. And so the way to understand this partially is to look at the hard aspects of the planet, which I call the hardware, right? The software would be the mythology behind it, right? So the hardware, if you want to put it in those terms, Neptune's a huge planet. It's a frozen planet. It is. Let's start with Saturn. So the way to understand this is, all right, so Saturn represents the outer boundaries of life on Earth. It's the law, the limitations, the authority, the glass ceiling. It's the normal rules of society and law and order and authorities and maturity and old people and all that, right? Then we get Uranus, which is breaking free from all that limitation. Uranus, I have Uranus rising. So Uranus wants to, mythologically, you could say that Uranus is the grandfather and gave birth to Saturn. So Uranus really just kind of humors all the Saturnian restriction, right? But it's really about freedom. It's about rebellion. It's about breaking free from all the restrictions. It's about genius and inventiveness and independence and uniqueness. Uranus really doesn't care. Saturn's very traditional, wants to preserve the past. Uranus wants to blaze into the future. Really, it doesn't want any ties to the past because they're too heavy, too limiting. Right, so it's very much now, right? And so you also get like rhythm because like now, right? Some people said drums are very Saturnian. I can understand that, but it's really more Uranian. Some other Uranus things would be like politics or social issues, because it's concerned with society, humor, revolution, independence, all that, genius, invention. It's intellectually creative. And the thing with Uranus is that it's logical. It has to make sense, right? It could be very, genius invention that's like, only one in a 10 billion can ever figure out or something like that, like very rarely. But it still makes sense, right? It's still like, oh, this fantastic engine that works, right? When we get to Neptune, we're further breaking free from the Uranian limitations of logic, right? So where Uranus can be a brilliant invention that works, right? Something that actually works. Neptune's not really concerned with workingness. It doesn't, or at least in the practical sense. Neptune is about the arts, right? So I have this George Seurat painting in the background. Like, it doesn't really. There is actually some sense in this kind of painting. He used color theory to because I studied art. So to it's pointillist color theory. So it is kind of like logical, perhaps Uranian thing. But what makes it what makes one painting a masterpiece and another painting like basement fodder, whatever. It's very elusive, right? Nobody can really tell you definitively what makes a masterpiece and what doesn't. What makes a brilliant, what makes a top hit single, right? Or in music, or what makes a masterpiece painting, or what makes like a successful dance or movie or whatever, any artistic field, it's elusive, right? What is art? It's elusive. It's not something you can just put your finger on or write a mathematical formula for. It doesn't exist. That's the realm of Neptune. It's nebulous. It's expansive. It's elusive. It's not. It's going to slip through your fingers. You're going to try and capture it, and it's not there. It's like you try and make art. It's not easy, no matter what kind of art you make, because it's not something that you can just figure out. It's something that you have to go beyond. You have to go beyond the mind. You have to go beyond logic. You have to go beyond your ability to understand things and make sense of things. It's not. There's no objectivity really in art, except that it's very subjective, Neptunian things, but collectively we can come up with some sort of objectivity, like, like art we can all agree on, like the various, like music, art, various different artistic fields, Neptunian fields we can sort of collectively agree on, but it's something that we have to like squint at, like not stare too hard at, just like kind of pull back from, and yeah, I kind of see it. Do you see it? Yeah, I see it. Like that kind of thing. Do we all agree that this is like a masterpiece? Yeah, we kind of agree, but it's going to take some time for us to really decide. It's not something like 2 + 2 = 4. We just know it like right then and there, right? So we're going on beyond Uranus. We're going beyond the genius with Neptune. We're going into the realm of the nebulousness. We don't know. We can kind of get an idea. We can feel it out. And that's a very Neptunian thing, like feeling it out, right? Sensing it, intuiting it. Neptune is very esoteric, spiritual, dreams, psychic intuition, what else? Fantasy, delusion, drugs, alcohol, all sorts of associations like that. Any sort of creativity. Neptune is the most creative because it's drawing from the subconscious. Neptune relates to the subconscious mind, the dream world, the spirit world, right? Yeah, all sorts of fantasy illusion. It's also very compassionate and loving, sacrificing. It rules dissolving of boundaries. It's boundarylessness. It is expansiveness. It's loss as well. It rules loss and dissolution of everything. Right? Okay, so that gives you an idea of Neptune. So let's get into it. All right, the first one I'm going to get to is Chris Evans. I mean, maybe this isn't the most ideal chart because it's got Uranus rising in Scorpio retrograde, so it's kind of similar to me, actually. But he does have Neptune in the first. The other three examples of Neptune in the first are women, and they're more obvious. But I wanted to throw in one male for a character. Sorry, just to get some variety. Contrast. So he's Captain America. He played in all the Captain America films, but he also did some other stuff. He was also in the Fantastic Four. He was the Human Torch. Okay, so I don't remember him in that, but apparently okay. But so he's got Neptune in the first. Neptune for movies, for cinema, for any arts, it's fantastic, right? Because it creates this illusion, this fantasy, this exotic quality that is very glittery, glamorous. We really see the exotic qualities coming with the women, right? They have like this exotic beauty. I don't know if women find him like really exotically, like, oh my God, like dreamy or something like that. But that would be a Neptunian quality. Especially in the first, which is create this like dreamy exoticness, like wow, like fantasy, like incredible plus he also has opposite his sun, so that's interesting, right? I actually have Neptune opposite my sun and Venus, and one thing I can tell you about this position is that it attracts Neptunian types, and Neptunian types are people who a lot of times are not what they seem, right? They can be thieves, right? You can attract a lot of people who are deceptive and wanting to, it depends what house. Mine's in the second house, so they want to steal money from me. But anyway, Yeah, so he probably deals with a lot of illusion and delusion in relationships with this opposition, right? He's never sure who he's dealing with. But anyway, um, interesting. He's got Vesta conjunct the MC from the ninth, and he played Human Torch, right? And then Captain America, he does have Uranus rising, so the freedom, right? And then the Neptune is not really free. Well, Sag, I guess, could be seen as something like that. But Neptune just for the fantasy roles. Not he's not just an actor. He plays Silver Torch and Captain America. Any case, Neptune very strong there. But let's look at some other ones. We got Mrs. Kanye West. I'm just kidding. No, Kim Kardashian. She probably does not like to be called Mrs. Kanye West. All right, so she's got Neptune also in Sag, rising direct. And this will create this kind of exotic look because everything in the first house is going to relate to appearances. Not only appearances, it definitely relates to the mind as well as the identity, the core personal identity, right? I mean, also, I mean, one of the things is that they say is like, oh, because looks show up in the first house, therefore it's the mask. Looks also show up with the sun sign. They do just as much. So that argument's dumb. It's dumb. So anyway, yeah, looks show up in the first house. They also show up with the sun sign and the planets conjunct the sun or aspects, right? Anyway, Neptune in the first definitely creates this exotic look. And whether you like Kim K or not, she did become famous through a porn video, but then through a TV show and being married to Kanye West. But she's famous, so whatever. I mean, I don't really care. I mean, it's just not my idol or anything, but she does have Neptune at first. We can also, I didn't look at Chris's Pisces house, but we can look to the house of Pisces for Neptune because Pisces co-rules Neptune. So it's going to bring in some of those significations. So we're talking about fourth house. So family, right? Kardashian, right? So she's known as a Kardashian, fourth house in the first. That's very important for Kim's identity. It's something very personal. She's going to be like, well, I'm a Kardashian. That's, part of that. That's part of her core identity. Plus her moon's in the fourth. It's in Pisces. It's very creative there. But yeah, definitely that glamorous, exotic quality. She has that, right? It shows up in her face. We'll see that with these other girls too. Next we got Mrs. Tom Cruise. Next. Nicole Kidman. All right, so she's got a Scorpio rising with Neptune and Scorpio, right? And this bug lady. She's eating bugs, right? Ooh. But that's very scorpionic, right? You could see Scorpios eating bugs. Scorpio's a bug. I guess Scorpios like to eat bugs. I don't like to eat bugs, but she does. She thinks it's cool. Of course, she's part of the Illuminati, so that makes sense. They want us eating bugs while they eat steaks. But she has Neptune retrograde. One of the things about retrograde is that it's drawing from the past, right? And this is kind of a new understanding I've recently put together about retrogrades is that direct planets are moving forward into the future. They're moving forward. Retrogrades are pulling from the past, right? And so you could make a case that they're pulling from past life, even though I have to like whenever people talk about past life, I really get a little bit skeptical. You don't want to make any big, like strong conclusions about the past life. But vaguely, you can say, I believe in past life. I just don't like when people are like, this planet here means this about your past life. No, it fucking doesn't. Like, shut up. You have no evidence of that at all, right? You're just making shit up. Somebody told you and you're parroting it. It's stupid. Like, so shut up. No. But there is something we can say, like, there is like, again, I'm not going to be specific, but there is like this element of drawing from the past. Now you have to draw your own conclusions about that. What does that mean? But it means taking something from the past and we're bringing it into the present. And so it's almost like a lesson that we haven't finished, right? Like if we were doing something in a past life that we had not completed on a soul level, then we might carry that signification into this life. So we're continuing that, right? So that's what retrogrades also signify. They also signify resistance to the norms, not going with the flow, right? They can also signify a delay in the matters, especially the outer planets. Retrograde outer planets will take much longer to manifest. But those same significations we can sort of see in our past, right? Like if a planet will represent something at some point, we can see the earlier steps that it took to get there throughout our life with the retrograde, if that makes any sense. We'll see the trail that led to that development of that thing with the retrograde. We're pulling in fifth house for Nicole Kidman, entertainment, right? That makes a lot of sense. Scorpio, the dark. I'm including Vesta in these charts just for fun, just to look at it, see if it does anything. Juno as well. I mean, why not? But I'm not going to really comment on them much. Just observing, right? Same with part of spirit. Part of fortune seems to make a lot more sense, generally speaking. But anyway, yeah. So Neptune, actually, we got a trine to Mercury. So anyway, we get this exotic, dark, scorpionic quality with Nicole Kidman. Really helps out with her looks, her movies, right? Gives her this kind of dark, eerie, mysterious vibe, right? She can eat the bugs, and we're all kind of like grossed out, but it's like, I don't know. She has sex appeal, so I don't know. Maybe she's trying to make bugs sexy. I don't know, but not for me. They're not. She can keep her sex appeal. Anyway, let's go to one more example of this, and it's pretty obvious with these women, just like the exotic quality that Neptune has. Right here, we have Marilyn Monroe in Leo, Neptune. So exotic, such a like the icon of a pinup girl, right? Marilyn Monroe. Right, she was in the movies, magazines, and she just lives in infamy to this day. Infamy, I mean fame, right? Celebrated as like this beautiful icon of American, history. Model, actor, actress, icon. Yeah, very exotic. Neptune is ruling the eighth, co-ruling the eighth, right? And then we got Mars and Uranus here. And then we do get the association with drugs and alcohol, right? I don't know what she died of. I'm not it's drugs, I think, right? Ceres also indicates some potential loss to her body, to her first house, herself, her core identity, right? And then we get the eighth house planets, especially Mars, Pisces, right? Uranus, accident. Mars and Uranus together, it's accidental. Some kind of violent accident. Eighth house, death by, Pisces, drugs. Strong grand water trine. Yeah. North node Pluto in the 12th. Come on. It's not very safe. Anyway, okay. Marilyn Monroe. Let's go to the second house. And we have Kesha. Not super long-lived fame, but she did have that song Tick Tock, which is really kind of funny. If you listen to it, especially in light of her astrology chart, because she has Neptune in the second. Neptune pretty much conjunct the second house cusp. And it's so obvious when you listen to that song. I have Neptune in the second. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. Sometimes people say like they can't understand what I'm saying. It's partially due to Neptune in the second. I used to sing in a band as well. I do have like a sing-songy kind of voice. But when that TikTok, you can hear the Neptune. You can hear it. I mean, you can hear it in the lyrics too. It's like very like this kind of like shaky, wobbly, like all over the place. And she really leans into her Neptune second house planet, right? Yeah, and also the appearance of Neptune in the second, it's like her dress is like just like disheveled. It's like almost like a homeless person or somebody who's like, but so are the lyrics like that. It's like wake up in the morning, wash my mouth with Jack Daniels or something like that. I don't know. Like she's talking about like partying all the time, which is, yeah, I guess if you're like 20 years old or you're around that age, it's kind of the thing to do. But um, it's pretty short lived. You can't do that for very long because your health. Anyway, that's Neptune, right? It's like drinking alcohol, staying up all night, dressing like a homeless person, right? Not giving a shit. I used to do that, right? That was me when I was younger. Got to admit, right? And then the way she sings, it's like all over the place. So that's very Neptunian. What else? Neptune in the second. Um, the other qualities of Neptune in the second could be like self-esteem that is just like can vary greatly. Like it could be like completely dissolved into nothing, but it's like because of imagination and Neptunian qualities, it's like also it can become extremely inflated. Money can be the same, money can come and go like very almost magically. Like you just have money and all of a sudden it's gone. You don't know what happened, and then like all of a sudden you get it back and you don't know what happened. And just like what? That's that's a Neptune quality, right? Um, Also like because self-esteem is Neptune, like or self-esteem is second house and Neptune is here. So the self-esteem is not going to, it's going to be very loose, and people with Neptune in the second are they don't have this kind of like depends what other planets are there, but it's very movable, it's very mutable. It's not they don't have like this extreme conceited self-image that some other placements can have, right? It depends. Obviously, there can be all different kind of placements, but it's very nebulous, it's very expansive, and they can be very, very generous, overly generous with their money. They can just give it all away at some point because Neptune, right? But it'll just like magic come back to them. Yeah, and the voice, right? The voice reflects that Neptunian quality. Um, let's go to another Neptune second house, and we got Justin Bieber. Now he's got Neptune and Uranus in the second, and I don't I don't really listen to Justin Bieber. I'm not really. I mean, I don't listen to Justin Bieber at all. Um, his music is too stupid and juvenile for me. But I think it's like, that Neptune you can hear in the kind of like the soft. I don't know about the Uranus. In fact, I'm probably not the best person to talk about Justin Bieber's voice because I don't even really know what he sounds like. Um, but you probably do. And it's probably Neptunian. But like if you look at the way he dresses, like it's very Neptunian. It's like almost like, sort of like Kesha, like him and Kesha could have a contest who could look like a homeless person the most, right? Like it's just whatever, like anything goes, just gonna do my, just look like you know, look like I've been up partying all night and sleeping in the streets. I don't know, something like that, right? Just he doesn't give a shit, right? Of course, Uranus is there, so he's got a more of an edge to it. He's got all the tattoos and whatnot. Of course, his core identity is very scorpionic and plutonic. Um, but yeah, there's this the kind of laxness, and generosity. Like Bieber will probably be very generous, and with Uranus here, he will probably just like in an instant donate shitloads of money to something, right? Um, just on the spur of the moment with this combination here. I mean, the Capricorn might be a bit more practical about it. There might be some business venture in mind or something like that, but still, he'll be very spontaneous with his resources. And what else? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's go to everyone's favorite president who gets accused of being greedy when in fact DJT lost money while he was president and he did not take a salary. Okay. Neptune in the second. And okay, so voice. We're talking about voice. He's got that smooth, buttery voice. Okay, that's Libra, that's Jupiter, but it's also Neptune, right? The way of talking. I'm not going to try and do it like he does, but you know what I mean, right? Trump's voice is all like people do his impression. It's just feels like he's um yeah, what else can I say? It's like smooth and buttery and like just like really exaggerated, right? It's the combination of, I mean, you got Chiron and Juno in here, so that's going to do something else. But the Jupiter for stationary for the money, it's also mutual reception by exaltation with Saturn, um, which is connected to Venus, right? Um, but this is also his appearance, right? He's got the hair is, they call him Orange Man, right? So there's a lot to do with, and it's not purely Neptune, it's also Jupiter, but he's also very generous with his money. Like he is. I don't care. Like if you hate, here's what I don't like. You can hate him all you want. Look at the facts. Just look at the facts. I'm very, I'm Virgo moon. We got to look at the facts. The facts are that he's done a lot of charity work, and he's given a lot of he does help people. So I don't hate him. And in fact, because I've got, I'm very Uranian and retrograde, so like the more that I was never a fan of Donald Trump, but the more they single him out and try to like trash him, the more I'm like, I got to side with DJT, because you guys are clearly just trying to trash him because he was a president, he's running for president, and he's doing things he don't want, and he's basically against the Illuminati, and they can't buy him out, right? That's what's going on. If you want to know the truth, right? I know a lot of people can't think outside their Saturnian limitations. There's like CNN says this, ABC, NBC, blah, all the media says this, like. Therefore, I can't think outside the box, right? I have to agree with them. I don't have that problem. So I'm here to tell you the truth. They're after him because they can't buy him, right? Biden's bought and sold, so is Hillary, so is Obama's, all of them, all of DC, basically, most of it is bought and paid for, right? By the Illuminati, not him. But he's got Sun conjunct Uranus, so he's totally independent. Like, look at the facts, look at the astrology. Astrology doesn't lie. Okay, so whatever. He's got Neptune retrograde. It's co-ruling the seventh house, so like, yeah, definitely. Okay, so here we also, I mean, Jupiter co-rules, so both of these are pointing to the same thing. His wife is going to be beautiful because second house, right? Libra, right? That's what he wants. That's what he's looking for. He's looking for somebody who fits the second house qualities, which are aesthetics, appearances. It's not superficial. Well, maybe it is, but it's what it's in his chart. It's what he values, right? He values things that look good, things that are worth money, things that have value, right? And so that's what that is. Okay, let's go to one more. We got Tina Turner. She's got Neptune in the second in Virgo. No, Neptune co-rules the opposite house, so eighth lord in the second, which is interesting. Also, she's got this really intense aspect to her Neptune with Saturn, Vesta, and Venus. So we can tell like there's some issues with relationships, especially because Saturn rules the seventh. It's in poor dignity in Aries. So we can assume that her partner will be very dictatorial, very authoritative and dictatorial. Saturn in Aries is kind of a selfish leader, right? It's in conjunct her Neptune with Aries and Virgo. So Virgo is in service to Aries, right? That's how it gets its delineation with this in conjunct is, first house, sixth house is service in service, because it's relationships that are inferior relationships. So we get the idea of service. So her Neptune second house is in service to her partner. So it's like her partner's taking money. So like she's paying for shit. She's paying for shit. She's paying for their relationship. She's paying for their travel, for ninth house, right? She's paying for maybe his education, whatever, right? And it's also square to her Venus, which is her joy, her femininity, right? So there's definite tension. We know the relationship with Ike Turner is definitely not good, right? It's also brings out the fantasy and delusion that eventually comes crashing down into the cold hard reality of Virgo. um that eventually, that delusion is going to fade, and she's going to realize that she's really been taken advantage of by her partner, and she's not picking good partners. Yeah. Robbing her self-esteem. She probably feels like shit after that Neptunian cloud fades away, because Neptune will cast the illusion, especially in relationships. It's like, oh wow, I thought this person was like my dream, partner, and then I realized they're just a creep, and here I am, a fool. Yeah, that's very Neptunian, right? um so yeah, and because like her finances would suffer, her self-esteem would suffer, her image would suffer, right? um so all of that. But Neptune will in it will influence her voice a lot, so perhaps you can feel that Neptunian vibe in her voice. It's Virgo, so it's not Neptune and Sag like Kesha. It's Neptune and Virgo. It's a lot more conservative. Right. It is direct. It is ruling the eighth house, so shared resources again in her second house. So shared resources are coming from her resources, right? So she's paying for shit. Anyway, not the best, but it also shows her values. I mean, she did turn to spirituality later in life. We could probably see that elsewhere. Jupiter in Pisces. But this is part of it. It shows that potentially valuing second house stuff, Neptunian stuff, which is spirituality, esoterics. Also, the taste of a person with Neptune in the second can be drugs and alcohol related. Perhaps not so much with Virgo, right? But perhaps connected to a partner. Partner might be drinking, right, or doing drugs. Yeah. Any case, um, yeah, that's it. Let's keep going. All right. Now we got Benedict Cucumber Patch. Friends with Benedict Cucumber Patch. If I wanted to tease him, I would call him Benedict Cucumber Bitch. If I was like in high school or something, that would get him. Cucumber Bitch. Anyway. Cumberbatch. Okay, Neptune in the third. All right. Neptune in the third is going to affect the intellect, the expression, communication. Apparently, he's a great actor, and Neptune definitely relates to that. Here, it's not so much influencing the voice, it's directly influencing the ability to express oneself. And with Neptune, and Neptune is it's a chameleon. It's a shapeshifter. It could be anything you want. It's pure imagination, right? Especially in Sag. I think it does quite well in Sag. If we look at the retrograde, we could say like, okay, that Neptunian and Sag quality is drawing something from the past, right? So that perhaps he was already familiar with this. And from a young age. I mean, so this idea that Neptunian retrogrades will appear later in life, I'm not sure about that. I think that's perhaps happens sometimes, but definitely not all the time. Because third house is very much related to what he does, and he was noted as an incredible actor in like grade school or young school, like school in I don't know how old, right? But you can also look to Saturn, because that's the fourth ruler. It's conjunct Venus exact in the 10th house, right? So that also shows early rise to prominence to the public eye. Neptune co-rules the 6th house, so that the 6th house would be very competitive in this sense. 6th and the 3rd are very fighty, and he plays those roles well, especially because he's got Pluto rising direct, and he's got that super intense face, right? It's in Libra, so more balanced, but still. What else? I think this, yeah, this is a really excellent aspect for actors, artists, musicians. But we'll see other examples that also work well for this. Very active imagination because it's the intellect, right? Communication. Friends with Benedict Cucumber Patch. Right. Now we're talking about Carl Jung. And I try to get a lot of variety in here. I don't want to just do like, famous actors and pop stars. It gets a little cheesy. You overdo those. But anyway, um, Neptune in the fourth whole sign house, actually, but third quadrant. So I wanted to mix it up. Like we'll do some of all the pure and then the gray areas. Because when you're mixing quadrant and whole sign, you do get gray areas. I don't like this idea that it's like one or the other. It's like which to use, whole sign house or quadrant. It's like they both have influence. So why not look at both of them? Why ignore one? Like you're just losing information. If you're not looking at both of them, you're losing information. You're getting multiple significations. So look at that. So with Carl Jung, we get Neptune in Taurus, along with Moon and Pluto. So Moon and Taurus, Moon Pluto, right? Very stable Moon, but Pluto also for the psychology, right? Neptune in the third for the imagination, right? He was a student, I think he was a student of Freud, but at the same time, he was very much developing his own ideas. And that's partly due to this Neptune in the third, which is going to create a very creative, imaginative intellect. He's pulling in second house influences. So in this case, it would not be like singing, although speaking might be part of it. Second house would be intellectual resources in this case, right? Because the second house, as far as like the intellect, would be like memorizing things, rote memory, recording things in your brain, like almost like an encyclopedia brain, right? Because it's resources that you're gathering, right? As opposed to eighth house, which is research, which is a little bit different. In the eighth house, you're deep diving into information. In the second house, you're just gathering it, right? So yeah, he probably knows a lot of stuff, and he's very imaginative. Let's see here. Yeah, square the sun. So I know that he did have mental illnesses issues himself at one point. We can see that Moon Pluto and then Sun square Neptune for that delusion fantasy. Of course, Taurus is going to bring it down to the earth and ground it, so it's not going to be a major issue for him, but it is a thing, right? What else? It's direct, it's Taurus, it's very grounded, practical, simple, right? So yeah, definitely helps with the imagination in the third house. Helps create things even intellectually. All right. Next, we're going to go to another intellectual philosopher, Nietzsche. Nietzsche. Neptune in the third, retrograde, Aquarius. So here we have something way more abstract, right? Neptune in Aquarius is going to be much more like, like complicated, abstract, really going for kind of like a genius kind of invention. It is retrograde, but it's also trine the sun, right? So Nietzsche had different problems than Jung, but he also suffered mental illness later in life. So this Neptune in retrograde, we could say, well, it's pulling from the fourth house. And that's even a further indication that there's something from the past that he's picking up, especially because, so it's retrograde and from the fourth. So something about his ancestry, his parents, his lineage, Pisces, could be past life. And this is almost like, this is even, I would say, psychic, especially because he has Jupiter and Pisces in the fourth. So there's something almost like psychic intuitive here. Um, yeah. This imagination is really, really out there, right? You can really tap into some far reaching conceptual heights with this. It's also with Saturn here. I mean, Vesta probably helps. I don't know to what degree, but Saturn at 0 degrees Aquarius, right? So he's bringing it into like the solid, but the Neptune is the imagination that really can pull new ideas into his brain. Also, like, yeah, the intellect would be more sensitive with this, right? So definitely it's a double-edged sword, right? Genius and insanity. The two halves of that kind of thing. All right. Let's go to another one. We got Tiger Woods, totally different, right? But I wanted to have some variety. And so we got Neptune along with Moon in Sag, also fourth whole sign house, but third quadrant, right? But it's in Sag and it's third house. So that definitely relates to travel, right? So when you're talking about sports, one of the things you do have to often do, unless it's certain like ones like you're just standing there. Um, if you're moving a lot, then you're bringing in a lot of you're a lot of times you'll see that in the third house, right? You're running across a field or you're moving like with golf, you're moving. It's short and long, right? So it's like third house and Sag influences. Long shot, putt, right? So things like that, short and long distance. Um, Neptune is drawing from the seventh house. So I don't know if that, I mean, so what I could say about that is, affairs, right? Seventh house Neptune in the third. Just, neighbor, like friends, neighborhood, right? And it's also close to his moon, so it's close to his heart. And it's probably influencing the fourth house, or at least that's where the flow is. So like secret at home. Uh, yeah. Um, but Neptune, I mean, he obviously has other third house influences. North Node is conjunct from the second, and then Venus is squarely in the third. Um, but Neptune probably gives him an edge with his creativity in golf. I know that sounds kind of far-fetched, but it probably gives him some sort of vision, some sort of intellectual intuition about his sport, right? I mean, if you go deep enough into anything, you got to draw on all your abilities. With Neptune here, there's something that's going to add to it. So anyway, yeah, just trying to pick out different examples to show you guys how it can manifest. Um, can't think of anything else. Other than just like the dishonesty, the lies, the deceit, right? The loss of trust. Um, Sag is truth, right? Neptune is not truth or not objective truth, right? So we're getting a loss of truth here, especially as it conveyed also his communication, lies, deceit, right? Third house. So yeah. Neptune in the third might not be super duper trustworthy as far as their word goes. But you got to check everything for that. I have to pause for 1 second. Sorry about that. Share my screen. All right. Oh, by the way, Neptune in the second probably has a lot of influence on why I'm just so relaxed about the appearance of my videos. Like I just like whatever, like I don't edit unless I have to, right? So that's probably another aspect of that. All right. Let's go to hold on. All right, we'll go to the fourth house now. And we're going into the gates of hell. Bill Gates. All right. Bill Gates. Gates of hell. Neptune in the fourth. There's a night chart, sun in the I don't often look at I mean I take note of yeah, anyway, doesn't matter. Um Sun in Scorpio, night chart. What's really interesting about Bill Gates, this is a night chart, and then like Moon is his most elevated planet. It's really the only planet that's above the horizon, pretty much. I mean Chiron a little bit. But yeah, so when Bill Gates was born, this big bright moon, it's almost a full moon, was high up in the sky. And so that's pretty prominent for him. That's his ascendant lord. Um, in Aries. So anyway, Neptune's in the fourth. So we're talking about secrets at home. So this is kind of like difficult to fully um paint a picture of because you don't really know what goes on at Bill Gates's house. Um, but we can assume that it is Libran, right? Do business and relationships will have a lot to do with it. Real estate, land. He's one of the biggest landowners in the world, in America at least. He's bought like shitloads of acres, and I'm scared about what he wants to do with it. It's probably all like grow GMO vaccine ingredients, right? Like horrible, horrible stuff. Bug burgers and GMO vaccines is basically what Bill Gates wants to feed us and inject into us, right? Vaccines are very scorpionic because the needle, that's Scorpio. Anything with a needle is Scorpio, right? Heroin, vaccines, they're the same thing. I mean, they're the same energy. It's all Scorpio. I'm not 100% opposed to vaccines, but like, I don't, because I don't need them. Like, if you're like dying and a shot's gonna help you or something, similar, then fine, but most of the time I'm like, no. All right. Yeah, so there's gonna be elusiveness. So like, okay, if we look at the land thing, the real estate, um, Neptune's there. So there's some deception, right? You can't trust, you can't he'll I don't know what he says about it, but if you ask him, he might not tell you the truth, right? Because it's fourth house. And so his concerns also, I mean, of course, it probably makes a liberal with Neptune in the fourth because now you're talking about land and expansion, and it's like, okay, homeland, like politics, like homeland, concern for the country or nation or whatever is going to be very expansive. Very idealistic, maybe not realistic, overly like, because Pisces, Neptune can be very compassionate. That's a good thing, but you can get too far with that, right? Like you can just be like, um, you know, it can lose practicality, and then you can end up like with loss because Neptune, right? So anyway, and then everyone could be hungry and starving and dying and all that because you're not taking care of the needs of the reality of it with Neptune. You're just being overly, you know, in your feelings. Uh Neptune's ruling the ninth, so there's probably okay, so that's like his philosophy, his belief system. He believes in land and real estate, in home, in relationships, in fourth house matters. It's also something physical, right? So if we're talking about like what did he do? He built Microsoft. But there is a physical component of that, which is the hardware, the computer itself, the keyboard, the hard drive, right? All the physical components. So there is that element. And Neptune is also Libra is also business, so we can relate it to that. He could be very shrewd in business because Neptune, again, is not always honest. It's just it's fantasy and delusion. Okay. So all those things we can say about Bill Gates. And I'm not delineating anything else because it'd just take too long. All right. Now we got another Marilyn. This time Manson. The interesting name Marilyn Manson. It's like drawing from Marilyn Monroe and Charles Manson. So interesting comparison there. Um, okay, Neptune in the fourth in Scorpio, right? Uh, yeah, that's kind of scary because he's also got Mars in Scorpio here in the fourth, and right, and so like fourth house dealing with family, youth, upbringing, um, as well as the home, as well as your roots and where you're coming from, and so it's like where is he drawing? Where is this very very dark figure? Right, he plays dark music. I never liked Marilyn Manson, just for the record. Like, not my style. Too dark, too gross, kind of for me. Um, but we see he's drawing from this very scorpionic roots. So that's part of it. That's a huge part of where we get this Marilyn Manson quality. This Neptune in Scorpio with Mars and Scorpio also in the fourth. Because this is his background, his roots, where he's coming from, right? Also where his heart is, where his core is. Right? Home is where the heart is. So there's something very dark and scorpionic about Marilyn Manson in his core. Even though he's a Capricorn sun. Pluto's in the second. So it's kind of like a dark, heavy image, especially with Pluto and Virgo. It's combining these two edgy signs, almost like Scorpio and Virgo together. Both have potential for darkness. Neptune is shining Chiron in Pisces. He's very watery. Yeah, Neptune is dispositing, so that's actually pretty good for this Chiron. So I mean, extremely. So if this Chiron is well dignified, what does that say? That says that he's going to be extremely unique, but in a healthy way, right? Because of the nature of Chiron. But I'm getting too far afield here. Anyway, this Neptune's dignifying Chiron. And it's drawing from the eighth house. So again, this double quality of darkness of Scorpio in his home. So like you go to his home, it's probably gonna be pretty dark. And there could be, drugs and alcohol there. Um, and artistic, creative, but in a very dark, sexual way in his home. So yeah. I don't want to go to Marilyn Manson's house. I doubt you should go there either. He might drug you and rape you. Maybe not, but maybe he thinks about that. Maybe he imagines that. Right? He's like, no, I don't want to go to jail, but he's having fun. All right, let's go to another one. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay. Not nearly as dark, right? Neptune in Libra. It's direct, it's in the fourth, it's not really doing very much here, but it is here. Neptune is pulling from the ninth and 10th house, or MC rather, not the whole sign, but ninth whole sign, MC, and cusp, ninth cusp. So he's pulling from philosophy, religion, adventure, travel, as well as his MC, his career, into the fourth. So movies, fantasy. Fourth house deals with homeland. So he's in his career, he's always bringing his nativity, which is Austrian. We can't get away from that, right? The accent is so thick. He's always representing Austria, right? I believe that's where he's from, Austria, right? So that's always going to be a part of it, the homeland, right? Also his dream from a young age. He had a dream, a vision from a young age. That's Neptune. Also, he was the governor, right? The governor of California, fourth house, land, homeland, right? Neptune's not very strong for politics, although it does play. We do see it sometimes, and it's not great for it because it's just not strong enough. It's like all ideals without any grounding, right? So, yeah, he's probably very idealistic about his family, but there could be some loss there as well, right? Neptune can show loss. Neptune can actually, in the fourth, can actually show water damage to the house, I've heard. So like loss of the home, water damage to the home, things like that. Loss of family, other things. Yeah. All right, let's go one more. Steven Spielberg. Also, just like very similar to Schwarzenegger. Let me just check the date. We got December 18th, 46, and then we got July 30th, 47. So they're born very similar time to each other. So Spielberg, Neptune in the fourth. With Spielberg, we're getting a little bit different things because he's a movie director, he's a movie maker, right? I kind of get producer and director confused because I don't do movies, but anyway. I think he's a director. Anyway, with Neptune in the fourth, his artistry is going to be very physical. He's going to have a great vision of what he wants to see in the landscape of his movies, the environment, the buildings, the houses, the terrain, the neighborhood, the whole vibe of the physicality of the movies, right? Fourth house is physical, it's land, right? So the creative aspect is going into physicality. It's going to be able to build a great world, right? Fourth house, you know, Neptune, for the movies. Also, it's pulling in his MC, right, into the fourth house. So building something very real, and that's what movies are. Movies are fantasy, but there's a very physical quality to them, a fourth house quality, because you got to use physical things. You got to use props. You got to build sets. That's all very fourth house, right? So, yeah. It makes a lot of sense for any director to have Neptune in the fourth or a strong fourth house for those qualities, to build the reality, to create the illusion of reality in the movies. So that's prominent for him. Does have a very prominent Vesta. I don't know how that plays. Yeah, was just watching for now. All right, that's fourth house. Let's go to the fifth house, and we got another model, exotic. So this is really interesting when we're talking about Neptune, because we saw Marilyn Monroe, Nicole Kidman, and Kim K with Neptune in the first. Totally like very exotic women, right? Then we got Cindy Crawford, another supermodel, with South Node Neptune. Neptune exactly trine to the degree to our ascendant, right? And so if you have a planet that is in harmonious aspect to the ascendant, it's going to influence your looks as well. So we have Neptune in Scorpio. So she was like a supermodel. So like this exotic, sexy kind of fifth house entertainment, right? Quality that she had, and South Node. So it's like something from her youth, from the past, something that's deeply familiar to her. Neptune is also dispositing all these Pisces stellium, amazing Pisces stellium, huge, right? She's very Piscean. Ninth house, philosophical, maybe religious. I have no idea, but spiritual maybe, right? Connected to God. You know, I just have a beef. I gotta say, like, this is a tangent, but people keep saying in like the classical astrologers that ninth house is astrology. Bullshit. It's not. Ninth house is higher studies. You can look at, we can go through all the list of majors in all the colleges and universities around the world, and we could lump them all into the ninth house for that reason. That's not what it is, including like everything that's not ninth house related. So it's just because you can study something at a higher level doesn't make it ninth house. Ninth house is the general area of higher study, but the specifics about what you're going to study at the high level can be all over the chart. Astrology is much more about eighth house and 11th, right? Scorpio, Aquarius kind of vibes. Anyway, so that's wrong, and I don't like that. That's why I'm against this kind of astrology that just follows. It's very Saturnian, right? And I'm Uranian. I'm beyond Saturn. So like, and Saturn is above and beyond. It's more evolved. So I don't. It's kind of juvenile to me, right? Uranus is the father of Saturn. So there's oh, it says it in this old book, therefore we have to, we got to shove everything into that, like even if it doesn't fit, we can stuff it full, like, we have to make it work because it says so in an old book. Astrology's ninth house, therefore, regardless of all the evidence in the world, we have to stick to that, and stupid. Okay. Diatribe over. Amazing grand water shrine. Just incredibly deep feeling and emotional. All right, that's Cindy Crawford. Yeah, great for modeling, great for entertainment, exotic, sexy, intense. Anyway. Not so good for kids. I don't know if she had any kids. Yeah. Let's go to another one. Martin Luther King. All right. Neptune, the 5th, 0 degrees, Virgo, retrograde, trine Jupiter. So it's probably not so good in Virgo, right? Because opposite, it's domicile as a co-ruler of Pisces. But it does get a trine from Jupiter. Anything that's trine Jupiter is going to be helped. It's not the best trine because Jupiter doesn't really like Virgo either, right? But it is what it is. Neptune in the 5th, and so MLK, this, Neptune and Virgo probably give him very practical imagination. The 5th house, Neptune, will help him with his sort of like stage presence, being a public speaker, because entertainment, right? The 5th house is entertaining. And even if his main thing is not entertainment, he's not here to entertain us. It helps if he's entertaining, because that will capture our attention. That will make us, it just rounds it out. It makes it better. If you can deliver a great speech and there's this quality of entertainment, which Neptune in the 5th can have, because it's Neptune. It's nebulous. It can take any form it wants, right? It's imagination. It's film. It's cinema. It's art, right? And so this is a very creative aspect, practically creative, right? So yeah, I think it helps a lot with his ability to be sort of this stage figure that everybody knows and loves and appreciates, right? He can give great speeches and everyone's like, yeah, right? I'm not trying to make fun of him. Like, I'm one of those people. Like, yeah, he's awesome. Very powerful figure in history. And I appreciate him for his perspective, right? It was very wise and evolved and nonviolent, and like, appealing to the hearts and minds of humanity rather than, let's go destroy shit because we're entitled and we're the victims, right? It was very mature, very evolved. So I appreciate that about Martin Luther King. What else? It is retrograde. It's dispositing all these planets, so it is a major player for him, right? 11th house is, socially minded, societally minded. Pisces is very compassionate, so he's getting both sides. He's getting a polarity here with the Neptune and Virgo, right? And then the retrograde indicates possibly that he's drawing something from the past here about that, right? Idealism, especially because Pisces 11th house becomes very idealistic. All right. George Michael is we're going to look at next. And it already makes sense, right? George Michael, Neptune in the 5th. Scorpio, right? Neptune and Scorpio in the 5th house. I mean, George Michael. Maybe you have to be a little bit older to remember him. You can look him up if you're young, you don't know who George Michael is. First of all, super gay, but super talented. And he made these very sexy videos, right? And he made a video with Cindy Crawford, who also, right, we just saw him. Yeah. So like very, very sexual entertainer, right? With Neptune and Scorpio in the fifth. It's retrograde. It's pulling, it's also Pisces MC. So that's going to be a really strong, right? And it's trine. So that's really strong for his career, for his success, for his ability to be, a musician, performer, make these really powerful sexual videos. Um, what else? It's retrograde, so it's like, okay, he there was something here that he needed to continue from the past about that. He's also very Virgo-ish, so this is a nice compliment because Virgo is so uptight, right? So buttoned up. Neptune and Scorpio is extremely um deep and dark, right? And like if you listen to the music that came out for when Neptune was in Scorpio, I mean, on the one side you get like Black Sabbath, but then you get like, one another song I was thinking of, and this is a whole study that I'd have to dive into, but like, like California Dreamin', I believe was another anyway, it's tangent. But like White Rabbit, right? Like drugs is one of the things that really comes up heavily with Neptune and Scorpio, and that was in the 60s, which he's born in 63. So yeah. All right. So that's George Michael, the fifth house. Great for performance. Again, I don't think he had any kids. Right. Um, and then we go one more. Justin Timberlake. Another great example. And we're getting it in Sag this time. Right. And this is great too, because you can really feel the vibe, the different vibe. Whereas George Michael was like hypersexual, Justin Timberlake is not. I mean, he tries to be, I think, but it's more like this Sag vibe, right? Like the one image that I have in mind of Justin Timberlake, besides him, being on SNL, is him stepping on a disco ball, like with one of his albums. He's like bringing sexy back. I don't know if he's really brought sexy back, but he's bringing kind of like Sag vibes back, right? Neptune moon in the fifth house in Sag, right? Yeah. Um, Kind of presumptuous to say to for him to assume that he's bringing sexy back. I mean, I don't know. I don't find. I mean, first of all, he's a guy, but like George Michael was like a billion times. I mean, if we're just comparing Neptune and the fifth, right? But anyway, neither here nor there. Neptune is ruling the eighth house, so that it actually makes sense. So there is that vibe of the eighth house sexual vibe. It is bringing to entertainment his moon, fifth house. Right? So yeah, it's trying the ascendant. So it does give him that Neptunian exotic quality. Probably to his appearance. I don't see it. Probably because he's a guy, but I don't know. Maybe the girls think he's kind of like, Neptunian dreamy. I don't know. Maybe they do. What else? I mean, the moon probably helps out a lot here. They're exact, right? So it's very creative. Neptune moon conjunction. But you also get themes of illusion, fantasy, delusion, drugs, alcohol. I don't know if he's involved with any of those, but maybe at one point, right? Anyway. Yeah, great for entertainment, performance. Fifth house is not sex. People who say it's sex just don't understand astrology. Or they're very Saturnian and they're like, I read it in an old book. Therefore, it has to be that way because it's old. These dumb people who can't think for themselves and who have no connection to their Uranus. They're just completely limited by Saturn. I'm just telling you the truth. All right. Let's go to the sixth house. Pamela Anderson. I'm sorry, you can tell like a lot of these astrologers, they just they're status quo. They are. They're like they'll do like this amazing astrology, then they'll be like, yeah, it's a shame that CNN said this and that, and I believe every word of it because it's just and just like and COVID is 100% legit, and like all this, like Biden won the election. There was nothing, no funny business, all this stuff. Like they have no ability to think outside the box. They're completely Saturnian, completely trapped by Saturn. It's amazing, right? Weird. I don't get it. All right, Pamela Anderson, Neptune and Scorpio in the sixth house. Now this is very straightforward. Well, I mean, what's her claim to fame? TV show where she plays a sexy Neptunian, lifeguard, right? Um, I, I guess I mean Vesta's here too, so we can tie that in. Maybe I don't know what that's about. Like, um, okay, maybe like the dedication, like some seriousness to like saving people, but just like, wow. Um, Look, Neptune is also in conjunct the ascendant, so she's still getting that Neptune sexy vibe attached to her image, to her face, her body, right? um, Sixth house relates to, yeah, TV shows, magazines, periodicals, daily grind, daily work. I mean, obviously many other things, animals, health, competition, all sorts of stuff like that. But I mean, this is just perfect for Baywatch, sexy Baywatch lifeguard, right? TV show, South Node, also in Scorpio. Neptune is ruling most of her 10th house. I mean, it's the 10th whole sign house, right? In the sixth, it's retrograde, so something about the almost like a predestined, you could say, event with the retrograde. Pulling in karma, pulling in something that you already agreed to fulfill from a a contract, a spiritual contract, you could say, something like that. It's trying her Mercury, so she's really able to express that Neptune quality. I mean, Neptune, ocean, I mean, Scorpio, sexy. It's pretty amazing. Vestal Virgin. I don't know if she's a virgin. That's pretty far-fetched, but something about Vesta there that adds up. What else? I don't remember enough about Pamela Anderson. I know she's like outspoken about a lot of things. I don't know if that ties into this. Neptune in the sixth. But just the other significations is like day job, the daily routine would be very murky, nebulous, like undefined, like it should be all over the place. Like there's no routine here, right? She just does whatever she wants, whenever she wants. Of course, she's got some Virgo, but not personal planets. Um, yeah. Anyway, let's keep going. All righty. Um, we got Joan Baez. Joan Baez. Obviously, a lot of second house stuff with a stationary Saturn in Taurus, so she's got that voice, right? Um, and then she's got Neptune almost in the seventh, but it's in the sixth in Virgo. And so that is really appropriate for a songwriter because the sixth house is very academic, especially with Virgo there, right? That's Aries rising, every all the houses are in their natural placement, right? So Virgo, sixth house is going to be excellent for things like writing, for things like producing, editing, all the nitty gritty details of that. Obviously she can sing, but it's like, oh, is she going to write her own songs or not? Well, yeah, Neptune and Virgo in the sixth, yeah, very creative, but practical at the same time, right? So she's writing her own music. Juno's here. I don't know. Juno maybe helps that. I don't know. Juno's funny because it's like, yeah, it's like the marriage comment, but it's like we're not always getting married. It's like we don't just get married all the time. And what, like, if we're not getting married, does Juno do nothing? I don't know. I don't think so. It's just like a kind of like added bonus wherever it is. It's like, okay, I don't know. I'm still figuring it out, but it's not always going to be marriage because who thinks about marriage all the like every day of their life? I mean, was she like a marriage planner? I don't know. Maybe she writes about marriage all the time. I don't know. Still trying to figure that one out. Anyway, yeah, it probably does relate to marriage, but there's got to be a lot more to it than that. Anyway, Neptune, drawing from the 12th. So yeah, so super creative in the 6th. Right. So yeah, writing. You see a lot of that. 6th house activity for people who write stuff. Yeah, 3rd house, Gemini moon, 3rd house for sure as well. The 3rd and 6th often for academic work, for writing, things like that. Alrighty. Let's go to another musician. John Lennon. Also, very similar to Joan Baez. Of course, they were born around the same period, right? Both doing similar things. Neptune in Virgo in the 6th house. Of course, by quadrant, he also has Mars, North Node, and Sun still in the 6th quadrant, but these are moving into the 7th, right? 7th whole sign house, conjuncting the 7th cusp. But this Neptune's clearly in the 6th. It's in Virgo, trying the Uranus, and so for songwriting. And so trying the Uranus would probably make it a bit more radical, right? Explosive and like also socially oriented, Uranus. Neptune is pulling from the 12th again, so creativity in the 6th house for songwriting. Yeah, for being creative on a daily basis. We're going to work at creativity. Pretty self-explanatory, right? You know, and he did write about social issues a lot, not necessarily like good social issues. I mean, yeah, I mean, in some ways he saw about wrote about peace, but at the same time is very naive because here he is like a multi-millionaire, super duper famous, doesn't have to work a lick forever, right? And laying in bed doing heroin with his oh no Yoko wife. Oh no, it's Yoko. So he's out of touch, right? And he's thinking about communism and I mean, or you know, alluding to that sort of thing. I'm not a huge fan of his perspective, but generally peace is good. So I agree with that. Peace, Virgo, Libra. Virgo, Libra. Anyway, okay. All right. Another one we got is Gordon Ramsay, Mr. Hell's Kitchen. Now, I do admit that I watch Gordon Ramsay's shows. Not all of them, because he's got like shitloads of them, but I do watch some of them. I like cooking shows. They're fun. I think he's pretty good at that. And so that is very much a 6th house topic, cooking, because daily grind, right? You'll see cooking a lot with 6th and 4th house. 6th for the daily work effort and the mundane quality of it, and 4th for the brick and mortar of restaurants and the homeliness of it. A 2nd house for, you know, taste and aesthetics, of course, you know, Taurus, all that. But it's like you could just be like a rich connoisseur or food critic and have like a lot of Taurus placements. So it doesn't automatically equal chef, right? You need, because chef is more than just eating good food and drinking fine wine, right? It's hard work, right? 6th house. So this brings a lot of Scorpio to that. Sun, Cazimi, Venus, right? People think he's really good. I've heard that, like really good looking, sexy. South Node. He's also a very dominant, powerful figure. Born pretty close to an eclipse, right? The eclipse would have been, you know, what in the full moon would have already happened, and then the new moon solar eclipse would be in a couple days, 2 days maybe. So that's pretty significant. Neptune is also here for fantasy, delusion, shows, TV, 6th house TV, mundane, cooking, right? Competition, 6th house. It's all very you know, obvious here. And then North Node Taurus in the 12th house, also fantasy, movies, creativity. Saturn and Chiron in Pisces. Pisces ruling the 11th house, cusp, expositing Saturn. Saturn's the MC Lord, right? So it's related to that. 11th house, groups, networks. internet technology, all that is involved in his cooking shows. Also makes him popular for cooking shows because 11th house is the house of popularity. Okay, let's move on. We're going to do Mariah Carey next. All right. Seventh house, Scorpio, right? Yeah. So she could be delusional. So Neptune in the seventh will be um you can attract drugs and alcohol, Neptunian types, right? Spiritual, esoteric artists, um, people who take advantage of you, people who lie, cheat, and steal, um, people who are not what they seem. She wants somebody who's very exotic and sexy. I think she went for Nick Cannon. She probably had, I think she had multiple husbands. That would also be a Neptunian thing, like just falling madly in love and then the illusion, the facade drops and you're like, oh my gosh, that's not at all what I thought I was getting. Uh, very sexy, sexual, and this also reflects on her how she relates to people. She comes off as very Neptunian and Scorpionic, right? You look at her videos, she has that quality, right? This exotic Neptunian sexy girl, like skating around, singing and whistletto, high voice, and all that. But yeah, this is also could be drugs and alcohol, partners, right? Seventh Lord's in the eighth, so she's very sexual, right? She wants to go to bed with her partners. She wants to go to bed with them. Yeah, anyway. Um, what else? Neptune is dispositing her Mercury, her 11th house. So this, popular, all right? Popular with she has like major, so people would be obsessed with her literally because it's pulling from the 11th house. So fans, one-on-one. So she's like drawing fans into her one-on-one, which means like it's getting much more personal with her fans. So she has like some major fans with this combination. Especially Scorpio, the scorpionic obsession plays in there, really. So people just really become obsessed with her, certain people. She does have pretty much grand water trine. It's a little wide, but still there. Yeah. Also, honesty is probably an issue for her. Just like not only does she not attract, not only does she attract potential like deceivers, she can be deceptive too in her communication with others. Okay, let's go to another one. We see similar themes here with Amy Winehouse, right? But this time it's in Sag, Neptune Sag South Node. And who is her partner? This Blake guy, which nobody liked, I don't think, except her. She was like the only one in the world who liked this guy because everyone else was like, dude, that guy's a creep. Get away from him. At least that's what I imagine people were saying. I haven't really talked to anyone about it, but I figure everyone else is saying that because I'm saying if I was her friend, I'd be like, dude, get away from this guy. He's not good, not good news. Not going to help you out. And I think really he did really drag her down because he was into heroin as far as I know, right? So Neptune and Sag is very wild, really loves to party, Neptune and Sag. Because Neptune, you get the drugs and alcohol. Sag, you also get the celebration, right? Sag wants to celebrate. So you're celebrating with drugs and alcohol all the time with the partner. Um, Obviously it's South Node, so she would have, if she'd lived long enough, that would have changed. That would have dried out, you could say. But as it was when she was young, she had a real strong connection to this Neptune because of South Node in the seventh house and the delusion, fantasy about partners, also like the romanticization of partnership. Well, so you see it in Mariah Carey and Amy Winehouse, just like this kind of like expansive heartfelt, compassionate, but like delusional, fantastic love that they have for their partner, for a partner, right? You hear it. It's so powerful in Amy Winehouse songs, but she also has a lot of other things adding to that. I mean, it's Mars, Venus, with Venus stationary and Leo, right? Intensely passionate. But anyway, and then Sag also, um, fuels that fire. Right? Okay. Um, yeah. Um, Also just for the image, right? This Neptunian image, seventh house still reflects on the first house. So you're still getting some of that exotic quality. Also, what's interesting about Amy Winehouse, just to go on a tangent just for a second, North Node in the first in Gemini, and the hair, right? I mean, obviously, I'm not a woman. I have North Node in the first. I don't have any hair, but North Node really expands things. It's an illusion. It creates a fantasy. So like her face, her hair was very blown out of proportion. That's very much a North Node in the first kind of thing. Anyway, you'll see it more with women because of the, you know, generally speaking, well, the ability to dress up and all that. Let's go to another one. Lindsay Lohan. We don't really hear much about Lindsay Lohan anymore, but she was pretty popular there for a while, and then she went downhill fast, right? One of the things we notice is the Neptune Sun opposition, which I have. So she's Gemini ascendant, but Sun's in the first house, with Neptune in the seventh. So she's really going to attract partners who are Neptunian, also Martian. Um, so yeah, her relationships are going to have this strong Neptunian vibe, drugs, alcohol, and it's going to reflect back on her big time because it's not only her ascendant, it's also her sun, right? So the relationship, she's partying too much. Mars in Capricorn, Neptune. Mars in Capricorn is kind of reserved because the Capricorn kind of keeps it in check. It's very well trained, but the Neptune kind of destroys that, right? So it's kind of like this. Mars doesn't want to sit still. It's always going out. So she's like aggressively partying, right? Aggressively, like it's Mars in Capricorn with Neptune in Capricorn as well in the seventh opposite her sun. Yeah. Um, this Mars also is not good for the sun opposition. It's a little wide, but still it shows um yeah, the partner can be abusive to her. Yeah. Deceptive and abusive. Now, I don't know the details. I don't know what happened, but definitely that there could be issues of abuse there, physical abuse, where with drugs and alcohol and deception in part of that, part of that. Um, what else? I mean, Mars in the seventh is also not. It's a boss. It's bossy. So anyway, let's see. Neptune related. It's so Jupiter is dispositing her Jupiter in Pisces and her MC. Um, so yeah, relationships, but one-on-one, also like stage presence, um, the masses. It's more personal in the seventh, but still. Um, so yeah, a lot of relationship issues for Lindsay Lohan, and that was probably one of her big downfalls. She does have Sun Square Vesta. I don't know what that will do, but it does something. Neptune also exactly in conjunct her Mercury in the second. That as well is huge for a potential drug habit because second house is, consumption, food. Right. All right. Let's keep going. Where am I? One more. R. Kelly. So here again, we have the Scorpio. Um, Neptune in Scorpio. and south node. Remember, Scorpio is very manipulative. And Neptune is deceptive. Now, R. Kelly, just to remind, I think I wrote it here. So let me just read this. Robert Sylvester Kelly, known professionally as R. Kelly, is an American singer, songwriter, producer, been credited with prolific success in both R&B and hip hop, earning him names as the King of R&B, the King of Pop and Soul, and the Pied Piper of R&B. He was convicted of federal racketeering and sex trafficking charges in 2022, stemming from decades of criminal allegations involving minors. He's currently serving a 31-year prison sentence. Wow. So he's released 18 studio albums, known for his hit singles, blah, 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 3 Grammy Awards. Okay. So like super duper famous for his singing, songwriting. And then also, why would, it's like boggles the mind with that kind of success. Why would you do illegal shit? Like you don't have to, right? What are you doing? What the heck is going on? Right? But we see this Neptune in Scorpio. So his relationship with other people, manipulative, deceptive, drugs, alcohol, right? Loss, so like child trafficking, sex with minors. What's going on in the 5th house? We got Pluto and Uranus in the 5th, right? Opposite Saturn and Chiron. Mercury's ruling the 5th cusp. It's conjunct his sun. So yeah, he likes them young. It is what it is. I mean, you don't have to act on it just because you like young girls. Doesn't mean you got to act on it. I mean, a chart's a chart, but it's how you use it that matters. Moon's in the 8th house. Yeah, I mean, this is not very savory, right? It's like exotic sex. Yeah, with young women. Wasn't he the one who got caught peeing on a girl? It's shameful. Yeah, Neptune's trine the Saturn Chiron. Saturn's ruling his pretty much his 10th house, so it's like tying into his career. Of course, he's gonna get found out, right? It's not secret, it's not hidden, right? He's trying to be secretive. His moon in the 8th, but his sexual escapades are tied to his public image, right? It's not hidden. Yeah. North Node in the 12th. I mean, it's the first whole sign house, but it's the 12th quadrant. Part of fortune's in the 12th. So the 12th house would relate to jail. We look to Mars. Mars in Libra, yeah. Not in good dignities. 12th lord's not in good dignity. It's in Libra in the 6th. Daily grind, daily jail, daily jail. Yeah. So that's not a great example of Neptune and Scorpio in the 7th. Okay. Let's go to Neptune in the 8th. And here we got more controversy with MJ, King of Pop. Right. So MJ, North Node, Jupiter, Neptune is Scorpio, 8th house. So here we have secrecy. So let's see the difference, right? We don't, there's all sorts of speculation about what happened with Michael Jackson, with those little kids, right? We don't really know. At least I don't know. Somebody knows, maybe. Right? 5th Lord is conjunctive. So that's entertainment, but you could also say maybe something to do with kids here. He likes kids. They're very part of his identity, 5th Lord and the 1st. But as so is entertainment, so is creativity, so is caring. I like to think he's a good guy, but I don't know because I've heard conflicting things. It's so hard to know. Neptune's in Scorpio in the 8th. This is also kind of intuitive, even psychic. Let's see. It's tying to Trinus Pluto, pretty close to his sun. So yeah, I'd say there definitely was some psychic ability with MJ. Tapping into the netherworld, right? He didn't go to jail. R. Kelly went to jail. Neptune and Scorpio in the 8th, Neptune and Scorpio in the 7th. That's the difference. 8th house is much more hidden. That's not to say that if you have 8th house planets that you won't be caught at doing illegal activities. You have to see everything. Okay, let's look at Mars. Mars and Taurus in the 3rd. I mean, that's not hidden at all, right? But still, he wasn't. So he was accused of criminal activity, but nothing ever really stuck, right? As far as I know. So anyway, I don't think he was like R. Kelly. I think he was better, but I don't know. What else can we say? Yeah. Definitely psychic and intuitive placement here, potentially. And then we could also look to his death. See North Node, Jupiter, Neptune. So Jupiter could be his doctor, right? Jupiter in Libra, and Neptune the drugs that killed him. That's interesting. South Node, 2nd house, voice. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. Jim Morrison is another one. Neptune and Libra in the 8th. So that's very sexual, that's very intimate, very relationship oriented, right? He liked to have drugs with women and sleep with them. Exotic women, right? At least that's what they portray him as, and I believe it. Neptune is co-ruling the 2nd house. So it's also relates to, well, it's not his expression, but something about it's the vibe of his songs are going into the 8th house, invoking this Neptune and Libra quality. The aesthetic, you could say, the aesthetic of his songs, not the actual words or communication or expression, that would be 3rd house, but the quality of his music has this Neptunian Libra 8th house vibe. Dark, mysterious, poetic, creative, relationship oriented, sexual, intimate. Definitely very creative, deeply creative, intuitive. What else can we say? Yeah. I mean, here we get a taste of like this dark poetry that he liked to write. It's tied to his sun through a square and semi-square, Chiron. Anyway, it's going to be very hidden, but this definitely speaks to drugs, alcohol, women, sex, relationships, and a general quality of his music. Let's keep going. Snoop Doge. Snoop Doge. Snoop Dogg. Jupiter and Neptune conjunct in Sag. That's a pretty strong combination in the 8th house. Because Jupiter is in good dignity. That's opposite Saturn, so that's interesting. So Jupiter, Neptune. So that's like really expanding the parting. The intimate party, the deep part, the secret partying, right? The secret party. Let's go party in secret with Snoop Dogg, right? It's not so secret, but it probably is secret. It's 8th house is also where we don't really abide by the law, the 7th house. He's also got the Scorpio in the 7th house, so he doesn't abide by the law in that area either, right? Because Scorpio is above the law. Scorpio is above Libra. Libra is the law, right? Libra is the agreement, which relates to the law. It's not the enforcement of the law. That would be Saturn Capricorn. It's the legality of the law. And Scorpio is above that. 8th house is above that. It's also very philosophical. high-minded, Jupiterian, right? But celebratory as well. Jupiter is expanding Neptune. Neptune is dissolving Jupiter. That's very much about like well, just complete expansion, dilution, and it's opposite Saturn. So there is this element of being against the law, right? So he's doing illegal stuff, illegal drugs. He's known for that. I mean, he's known for like, Pluto in the sixth, chronic abuse, right? Chronic abuse of his health, chronic abuse of, well, marijuana. Let's put it that way. And maybe other stuff too. I don't know. We don't know. It's eighth house. It's secret. But it's also occultic, right? He could be deeply into the occult. He could teach the occult with Jupiter here, Jupiter and Sag, right? This could be astrological too. He is philosophical. He was Snoop Lion for a little while, right? So that's like also tying into this. Didn't last long. That's probably the Neptunian quality that he has there. They're becoming religious and then not becoming religious again. Like, oh, I thought I was really religious. Now I'm not. I don't know what's going on. I'll smoke a joint, make more music. Something like that. Anyway, Snoop Dogg. Let's go to Pablo Escobar, another drug guy in a different way. Maybe not so different. Maybe Snoop Dogg dealt drugs. Maybe still deals drugs. I don't know. Pablo Escobar also dealt drugs, but a little bit different. Business, South Node, Neptune, Libra, eighth house, illegal stuff, business, right? I mean, that's just straightforward. Neptune ruling the ascendant, right? Co-ruling the ascendant. He's going into the eighth house. Jupiter, 0 degrees Aquarius, but basically conjunct 12th house stuff. Anyway, yeah, 8th, 12th, secret stuff, hidden stuff, business, Libra, Neptune, drugs, alcohol. I don't know if he dealt with alcohol, but definitely drugs, right? It's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's going to Venus and Capricorn, so making money, right? Joy, violence here, Mars, Saturn, tightly conjunct in the 7th and Virgo. Virgo fights, especially with strong planets like Mars and Saturn in it. Fighter, violent. What else? South Node, 8th house, North Node, 2nd house. Money, making money. Okay, it's Pablo Escobar. Illegal business, drugs. Alrighty. Let's go to the 9th house. Whitney Houston. Scorpio. Neptune, Scorpio, 9th house. Trine Chiron in the 1st. Her philosophy, her what's interesting is that she started out as a singer in a church, right? So that's relates to this Neptune in Scorpio. But eventually this Neptune in Scorpio got to her because she turned to drugs and alcohol and it ruined her life, right? It's dispositing her ascendant. And 9th house, yeah, religion, philosophy, adventure, but celebrations, right? So she got a little too celebratory, all her success with her singing, her amazing voice, right? Jupiter stationary, Moon and Jupiter stationary in Aries in the 2nd. Jupiter stationary, not Moon. Moon's never stationary, but yeah, very powerful voice. And then there's actually a triseptile here. I don't know how that influences it, but there's some connection there actually. She celebrated too much with Neptune in Scorpio, right? Yeah. Also, Jupiter's ruling her MC. So it's like too much of this fiery passion that turned to drugs and and yeah, drugs and alcohol and destructive behavior, Scorpio. And that's her. All right. Let's go to Barack Obama. Everyone thinks he's a great president. Little do they know he was not a good president. Shitty president. And he's got Neptune and Scorpio in the ninth quadrant, but 10th whole sign house. So this is influencing the MC, and Neptune influencing the MC is not good for a politician because it means they're lying to the public, right? Now this is in the ninth quadrant, so it's still pulling in that ninth house element. So, dude likes to celebrate. He does. He likes to party, and it's a little bit similar to Whitney Houston. Obviously, not in the same degree, right? He's not killing himself with drugs and alcohol. It doesn't mean he doesn't like to party. It doesn't mean he doesn't like to celebrate in strange ways. Neptune and Scorpio is very watery. This could include drugs, alcohol, sex, deceptive things, lies, deceit. It could also mean has studied scorpionic things, Neptunian things, occultic things. He is an occultic. He is an occultist. He's part of the Illuminati. He dresses up as Satan. He's married to a gay man. He is a gay man. He's married to a trans. It is what it is. So, yeah, this is not a very trustworthy thing because it also shows what he believes in. Neptune and Scorpio. What's that? It's like the occult. It's deeply esoteric, deeply netherworld right? He believes in spiritual shit, scorpionic stuff, and lies and deception. He believes in lies and deception. Yeah, not a very savory combination for such a public figure. And we'll see this again with other liars. But let's move on. Now, you see this takes a drastically different tone when we're talking about artists versus people who are meant to be taken seriously, right? A politician is not supposed to lie to us. That's not their job. They might think it's their job, but it's not. They're not supposed to be fooling the public, but they do, right? But we want somebody like an entertainer, a musician, an artist to fool us because that's their job. So they're being honest by being dishonest. So we get, Miley Cyrus, who's Neptune, Uranus, Venus, ninth house, Capricorn. I mean, she's wild. Of course she likes to party. And I don't hate her. I mean, she goes over the top. I mean, she's, definitely like corrupted by all these Illuminati figures and maybe she buys into it. But I don't know. There's something like if you watch her in her interviews, she believes in being totally free, right? Like she's like, I don't care. She's like, I love showing my breasts. I love being nude. I love, being sexual and evocative and provocative and wild and crazy. And that's Neptune and Uranus in Capricorn in the ninth. That's her belief system. Love, Venus, being all sexual and exotic and Uranian, shocking, right? She loves all that shit. And I'm Uranian, so I can appreciate it, right? Can understand it. I mean, she might be a little bit too destructive for me. Of course, she's got this moon, Pluto, Mercury, combination in Scorpio. But let's see, Venus is ruling the 11th house. So it's showing that her fan base, her career success is tied to her wild expression, her wild belief system, her philosophy in life, right? Also, her Venus is there. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't hate Miley Cyrus, but I do worry about her. I believe she's probably being taken advantage of by a lot of people who just want to make money off her. But for life. Um, Also, Neptune in the ninth could involve teachers who are deceptive, teachers, gurus, elders who lie and deceive to you about things that they teach you. So that could be another thing. Okay, let's go to Heath Ledger. Why so serious? So he got a shitload of Pisces placements in the 12th house. Uranus and Scorpio in the 8th. We know how he died. Drugs. And then Neptune and Sag in the 9th. So dude likes to party. Dude likes to celebrate. Retrograde. Dispositing all these Pisces planets and the 12th house. So he believes in partying. He believes in celebrating. I mean, Neptune in Sag might be very spiritual as well, so there could be that too, but not religious, because especially because it's retrograde. And so he's probably pulling in like some unique belief system because of the retrograde, because it's pulling in something from the past, right? Past quality, something that he started from a previous incarnation, if you believe in that sort of thing. Bring it into this one. I'm not being specific, and I recommend that. But yeah. A lot of partying, and then possible deception by teachers, people trying to lead him astray. That could also be a case. Also like exotic destinations and travel, right? Like to travel to foreign islands and have great adventures and yeah, things like that. Let's go to the 10th house. We got Monica Bellucci. Now here we get like the real expression of Neptune in the public eye, right? So you get artists, musicians, actors, actresses, all the creative types. Neptune, so Monica Bellucci, Italian actress. Let's read a little bit about her. She's okay. Italian actress and model. So she began her career as a fashion model before transitioning to Italian, then later American and French films. Um, she was in a lot of movies. 100 most successful Italian women, considered very beautiful and sexy. Neptune, Scorpio, conjunct the MC, right? Neptune and Scorpio is going to be very sexy, very exotic, especially for a woman. Probably translate to men as well, but more women, I believe. Right. And it's, so it's so public. Arts, entertainment, movies, fashion, all of it. And again, we want her to lie to us. That's her job. Neptune is ruling it's not really ruling the second house cusp, at least according to this delineation, this quadrant house system, porphyry. But it is what's the third whole sign house and most of the second quadrant. So second, third. Speech and expression, right? Acting. That's so yeah. I think that's it. Pretty self-explanatory. Um, let's go to Leonardo da Vinci, the master of masters of art. Anyway, Neptune at 0 degrees Libra, retrograde. Okay, so right, arts. So here we have, not the sexual, the Libra. He's so balanced in his creativity, right? So, and we also get this very strong exalted Saturn here. Neptune is pulling from so you got Moon Jupiter in Pisces, excellent combination in the third house for drawing, right? So it's pulling in his drawing into the public at 0 degrees, pure expression of Libra, balance. He was the greatest draftsman ever. I mean, probably. You're looking at it right here. One of the, if not the, and you can see like the beauty in his drawings, like so fantastic. Yes, painting as well. But like just look at his drawings alone, like just like perfect, flawless, master, a true master. And he's got like one of the best combinations. Jupiter in Pisces domicile conjunct Moon. Moon Jupiter combinations are excellent, right? And here Moon is in creative Pisces, and then Neptune conjunct DMC at 0 degrees Libra, the perfect balance. And then it's retrograde, so it's pulling in something from the past, something he's done before. Venus is in Pisces, Sun's in Pisces, sorry, Taurus, so beauty, right? Libra is not beauty. Libra is balance. Um, Taurus is beauty. Right? So Taurus is the real beauty and aesthetic. Libra is just the very balanced quality, fairness, justice, equanimity. Yeah. If there's beauty tied to Libra, it's because it's so balanced. And things that are balanced generally have their own appeal, right? Their own aesthetic value, but it's not the beauty of Taurus. Okay. Let's go to Christina Aguilera. Very contrasting, but still, perfectly relevant. Singer. She's got Sun, Neptune, Mercury, right? So this woman, Christina Aguilera, she's probably very creative, also delusional, fantasy oriented. She's got her head in the clouds, right? Because it's Sun and Mercury conjunct Neptune and Sag. She probably loves to party, loves to celebrate, loves to be delusional and fantasy oriented, very creative. Neptune is ruling her second whole sign house, but most of the first house, most of the first quadrant. What else? Yeah, I mean, it's destroying the logic. I mean, don't expect this woman to be logical at the least, right? But dreaming, fantasy, arts, creativity, all of that, yes. Very good, right? Exalted moon, conjunct Chiron, probably feels very unique, very different. Not much else to say about that. I mean, it's good for her. She's an artist. She's not a politician. Unlike this next guy that we're gonna look at. Oh, it's Joe Biden. Oh, what do you know? Mr. Can't tell the truth if the truth slapped him in the face. How about that? Yeah, Neptune in the 10th for a politician is just like run away. Run away as fast as you can because this person will only bring fantasy into the public. And I've been saying this right from the beginning. People are finally starting to realize that Joe Biden just makes shit up and just says like nonsense all the time, right? Of course, he's got Uranus in his 7th house, so he's just like just blurts things out that are just completely inappropriate, which can happen with Uranus in the 7th. And he's deeply secretive and pedophilic. Yeah, he's a Satanist. He's a pedophile. He's a criminal, just like all the rest of them. And he's horrible. And he just lies for a living. And that's his job, to lie to the public. And that's what the Illuminati wanted. They just wanted a liar. So they chose Joe Biden. Joe Biden cannot tell the truth. Joe Biden will only lie. Period. So there. He's ascendant Lord Jupiter. Yeah, it's in Cancer, but it's in the 8th house. So it's all secrets and hidden things and above the law, right? Retrograde. So he's just going to be completely, defiant and illegal and criminal minded and dishonest, and there's nothing good about him. There's literally nothing good about Joe Biden, just so you know. He's a stain on America and the world. He's a brown stain on the underpants of the world. Unfortunately, that's pretty much it. All right, let's keep going. Diana Ross. Now we're in the 11th house. Okay. And she's got Neptune in Libra, retrograde, in the 11th house. And where did she get her fame? the Supremes, right? 11th house, groups, networks. Libra, you know, not only business, but relationships, right? Neptune, creativity. Um, Neptune is pulling from the fourth house, also disposing her Venus, uh, Juno also. So from her hometown, like hometown girls, right? Exalted Venus in the fourth. Um, and then she went solo. Neptune in the 11th, the house of career success, will also show some sort of exotic legacy that she's left behind. Like if we think about Diana Ross, where it's almost like shrouded in this Neptunian fog of, glitter and starry-eyed fantasy. The Supremes, Diana Ross, like very, yeah, like it creates this very like dreamy, exotic quality of her legacy that we can remember her by. And that's a good thing, right? Nothing wrong with that. She's an artist. Um, so she's remembered as such in a very positive way. Yeah. Let's go to a different take on Neptune in the 11th with Albert Einstein, right? Can mean different things for different people. Uh, Neptune in the 11th for Einstein. Also Pluto. It's a Taurus, so it's much more grounded, earthy. Pluto's here, so deep, deep diving. Um, and 11th house is going to be here for somebody with Pluto, especially in like Taurus, something very grounded and practical. Scientific, because we're talking about abstract thinking. We're talking about very high-minded ideals. 11th house it is bringing an Aquarian vibe, right? So we're talking about high-minded abstraction and ideals. Pluto brings in the scientific element because it wants to research and dive deep into subjects. Neptune is ruling as MC, and there's this flow here into the 11th house. It is career success, it is groups, networks, it is social consciousness. So when they were developing the atomic bomb out of his theories, he was deeply concerned about that. That ties into this 11th house area, also Jupiter in Aquarius, North Node in Aquarius. He's thinking about society. He's thinking about the impact that his work is having on society, right? So yeah. I have my moon in the 11th house. I'm very concerned about all of these things too. I'm very political, socially oriented. That's where my moon is. That's where my heart is. So yeah, it's gonna be very creative as far as this very high level intellect goes. Similar vibe even to Neptune in the third, kind of intellectual creativity in a more practical way because Taurus, practical, simple. Taking something very exotic and out there and bringing it down into simplistic terms, making the intangible tangible. That's what Albert Einstein did. George Harrison, another band member, so 11th house band. Libra, again, like Diana Ross, right? The Beatles. This is pulling in some 12th house significance because 12th whole sign house, right? And Neptune is ruling the fifth, co-ruling the fifth, disposing the sun, part of fortune, Vesta and Venus, right? So it's a pretty strong planet for him. It's retrograde, so almost like the Beatles were predestined, right? Um, yeah, and also just very creative as well. Creative ideals, creative intellect, also tying into the 12th house creativity. Libra, relationships, bandmates. What else? Um, yeah, he did get stabbed. We know that. So, yeah, Scorpio rising, moon in Scorpio, conjunct the ascendant. Um, Pluto tightly in conjunct the sun, exact. That's really, and yeah, in the sun sign. Uh, that's very Saturn, Uranus, conjunct the eighth cusp. Yeah. Hmm. Anyway. Um, this Saturn is sesquisquare Mars, his ascendant lord, even though it's in really good dignity. It's bringing a lot of that eighth vibe there. Um, all right. Mercury, also Gemini hands, who's stabbed. Okay. The inconjunct between Uranus and Moon in the first. That's really difficult. Also points to some accident, body on his body. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. Shania Twain. Now, her music, forgive me, but her music's not good. It's just like boring white bread. It's boring white bread. But she's like super sexual, right? And so that's probably what gives it that the edge that makes her popular. She's like the most popular country singer ever. Um, Canadian singer and songwriter. She has sold over 100 million records, making her the best-selling female artist in country music history and among the best-selling music artists of all time. Like, why? I don't know. Probably because she's super sexy. That's why. Her music sucks. I mean, come on. It's like boring. It doesn't suck. It's just boring. It's like white bread. Um, but yeah, then she's got like this Mars and Scorpio in the 10th, and then Neptune and Scorpio in the 11th. And golly, yeah, she's sexy. She can't hide it. Like sometimes she leans into it, sometimes she doesn't. Doesn't matter. It's still there. All right. Neptune's ruling the third, so it's expression, tying her expression into um groups networks. Okay, so she doesn't have a band, she's a solo artist. I don't know if she ever had a band, but popularity, career success, right? The legacy that she leaves behind is somebody who's like Neptune and Scorpio for a woman is exotic sexiness. It's like, whoa, especially with Mars and Scorpio to boot, right? Yeah. I mean, she's got it. What do you want? I don't like her music, but I can't deny her allure. Very sexy. What else? Yeah, I mean, it's dispositing Saturn, second out voice, tied to her voice, carrying the sexy, carrying the voice is carrying the sexiness, yeah. Exotic quality, creative. Um, okay, so that's the 11th house. Let's go to the 12th house. And we got Brad Pitt. It's exactly conjunct the 12th house cusp with Brad Pitt. Also, Scorpio. Now here we get even okay, so yeah, I mean probably so like the women are just like they drool over Brad Pitt. I mean he's like ultra Capricornian, like masculine, appearance, first, second, well, so Sag rising with Sun in the first, and then the very strong second house. So it's like his physicality, but also his appearance, his, the first layer, the second layer, but also the behind the layer, the 12th house, the mystery, but it shows up in movies and creativity. Neptune and Scorpio, this exotic sexiness, like what Shania Twain had in the 11th house, he's got it in the 12th house. Right. So yeah, I guess it does work for men as well. I mean, I only know that because, well, I mean, I could deduce that I'm just not attracted to men, but a lot of the women are like, drool over Brad Pitt, right? Um, Neptune is fourth lord. So from a young age, from think about his home, youth, going into movies. I mean, he was pretty young when he got into movies. And yeah, they definitely play to his sex appeal. Right. So that's and part of fortune's there as well. So he's like fortunate for his sex appeal in movies. 12th house, creativity. And he's a good actor too, I think. All right. Let's go to somebody very different. Mozart, Wolfgang. Now here we get more pure creativity because Neptune, 12th, Leo, 12th cusp. 2 degrees from the 12th. It's still strongly in the 12th. Opposite is Mercury. So it's like ability to intellectualize the creativity, very strong. Dispositing 12th house, but also the sorry, 7th. Uranus, the genius, is his creative genius, right? Going into the 12th house, becoming even more creative, coming to his Mercury and his Sun. So real ability to express that. 6th house, writing. Also Saturn in domicile. Writing, so writing, creative genius, musical, expressive. Yeah, it's brilliant. And of course, I mean he was. And then Moon, Pluto, exact. So deeply intense, right? Yeah. Also, probably, the issues with his sexuality, Mars in Cancer, trine Venus in Aquarius. I mean, that's good in a sense, but Mars in Cancer is hypersexual and potentially violent. Anyway, I got to take another little break. 1 second. Hold on. I'm back. So, all right. Neptune in the 12th also for Brad Pitt, or anyone with in the especially in a water sign, definitely could be psychic, spiritual, right? Intuitive, also potentially delusional because Neptune there it's going to um in the subconscious mind can create fantasy, right? Unreality. So there can be, depending on how it's aspected. So I think, like, yeah, I mean, he's a creative genius, Mozart, but he's probably crazy too, because, Aquarius, Sun and Mercury in Aquarius, opposite Neptune. Yeah, creative genius, but again, the boundary between genius and insanity, probably sometimes he was insane. And then sometimes he was just a creative genius. Sometimes Brad Pitt probably loses his mind. Other times he might be very psychic or intuitive. All right, let's go to another one. Here we got a funny guy, Robin Williams. Everyone loves Robin Williams, as far as I know. Neptune in the 12th, talking about craziness, right? Well, Robin Williams has a couple things. All right, I mean, Senator Mars in poor dignity and Cancer conjunct Uranus, both for humor, but also for being a little bit off his rocker. Yeah, I mean, depression, obviously, with tons of water placements, but then the Neptune in the 12th, idealizing relationships, right? Fantasizing about relationships, being deeply motivated by ideal relationships that he probably never finds. And so it's square. Square is ascendant lord, a little wide, but still there. And so that's also causing tension and like just like I don't know about his relationships, but whatever they were probably not meeting his idealized fantasies that were like in his subconscious mind, like bothering him, like always there, right? And we can see this in conjunct with the Pisces houses, the Pisces house in the 5th. Um, to his moon, I mean widely, but still being conjunct still has that influence to his series, 5th house. I don't know what happened with his kids or anything about his kids, really. Um, what else? Yeah, but it's drawing from the fifth house and the 12th house, and it does seem a little bit problematic with the inconjunct and the square here. And that's Neptune. Uh, yeah, fantasy, delusion, related to relationships, motivation. Uh, yeah, we know what happened to Robin Williams, unfortunately, but everybody loved him. Yeah. All right. Stephen Hawking is the last one who we're going to look at. Neptune and Virgo in the 12th. First whole sign house, but it's no, it's 12th whole sign. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, no, that's very much 12th. All right. Anaretic degree, but if you're bringing in a lot of imagination, and then Virgo, right? It's so his imagination is going to be limited because Neptune obviously ruling Pisces. It's in Virgo, it's in detriment. Um, but for a scientist, this could be a very sort of specific or limited imagination that is very plays into his science, right? Tapping into a certain he wasn't religious, but he did have some sort of pseudo spiritual inklings. His Jupiter's in Gemini retrograde, so yeah, I mean, come on. Ninth Lord's in Virgo, right? Exact degree as mine, well, the same house as well. But this does show like some sort of imagination or tendency, like he was thinking about space. I mean, Neptune in the 12th is a very expansive kind of subconscious mind, but it's very Virgo-ish. So he's like thinking about very expansive things in a very practical, contracted, conservative way. He's like thinking about space and time and the universe and imagining all that, right? Retrograde. Is pulling from the his fifth house, right? Well, it's sixth whole sign, so interesting. But fifth, sixth, six actually makes more sense for him. But anyway, um, yeah, it's retrograde, so it's like again this idea of pulling in from something from the past, something that he's done before. Yeah. Interestingly enough, he does have this very strong inconjunct between Uranus and Saturn. Um, in Taurus, which reminds me of his physical disability, right? He does have Mars in Aries exactly on the descendant, which means Mars and its opposition is going to harm Libra, which is him. He's Venus down here in Aquarius, and Aquarius is electric, so he's like running around in a wheelchair all the time. Electric, fourth house, physical. So it's really interesting. And then Venus, eighth whole sign house, eighth cusp, right, as well. Square, Saturn and Uranus. I'm going a little tangent here, but um, yeah. So Pluto conjunct the MC or science. Sometimes Pluto is science. That is it. That is 40, 48, I believe. Yeah, we got 48 charts, so that's enough. That is Neptune through the houses. And hopefully I demonstrated Neptune's expression enough for you to understand the various ways which Neptune can express itself. And, it's not one size fits all. It's not Neptune good or bad or this or that. It's a lot of things, and it can be a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And so, yeah, there's that. So hit that like button, guys, and subscribe if you haven't already. Book a reading with me. If you already booked one, book another one, because I'll tell you other stuff, like you heard one part, yeah, you book another reading, you get another part. You get other stuff. We talk about all kinds of things, right? Astrologically related. Plus you get to hang out with me. So that's always a plus. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Mediocre astrologer signing off. Man, he's okay. Guys, laugh it off. Don't take yourself too seriously. Don't take your life too seriously. Take a victory laugh. Win before you win. Laugh it off. Have a good time. And leave a comment down below. Hit that like button. Subscribe. Book reading. All that good stuff. All right. That's it for now. Thanks. Bye.